The Miami Dolphins have doubled their win total from a year ago, and they've left a lot of people scratching their heads as to, How did this happen so far? Jason Horowitz, Clark Judge, Ian Eagle, glad to be with you on the Endzone presented by Sony. And I think what people are wondering about is this Wildcat formation, Wild Hog formation, anything you want to call it, with Ronnie Brown taking the snaps, Ricky Williams coming around, and it's working. Can it continue to work with NFL coordinators seeing it on tape week after week?
Well, you would think not. But I haven't seen anyone stop it at this point. Give Dan Henning credit. Everyone complained that Dan Henning was, old school, did things the old way, and was dull. And he puts in this formation. New England couldn't stop it. San Diego couldn't stop it. You run it until someone figures out how to stop it. My question is, it's on tape, Ian. How can you not be prepared for it?
Clark, everything, as we know in this world, comes back. Bell bottoms. They were out for a while.
Do you have any?
I have them. They're somewhere.
I like the Zubosh pants.
There you go. Right there. Exactly. Those will come back. Do not throw those out. So Dan Henning, he dusted it off, and he broke it out at the right time against the New England Patriots. They were completely surprised. Bill Belichick, who prides himself on knowing everything about his opponent, did not see that one coming. And Tony Sparano has put trust in Dan Henning. Mm-hmm. And it was actually, I believe, the quarterback coach that initially brought it up as a possibility, and then Henning was able to integrate it into the game plan. Ronnie Brown has been stupendous. He's been healthy more than anything else. And because of that, Chad Pennington has really benefited. That's a huge key. If Pennington has a big-time running game, like he's had in the past with Curtis Martin and the New York Jets, you will see his numbers will be solid. They're never going to pop off the page, but he's never going to make the big mistake on decision-making. Right. That's the one thing. What he doesn't have in arm strength, he's going to make up in smarts.
And Clark, you're writing about Chad Pennington this week as well. When you get into this, what about Chad Pennington has he brought to the Dolphins?
Well, one thing he doesn't bring is arm strength. And then people say, geez, that's a big deal. Well, no, it's not, because Chad Pennington is smart. He's accurate. He makes good decisions. He anticipates plays. And when the Jets let him go, I thought, honestly, I'm not so sure this is a lopsided deal here, because this guy makes smart decisions. And they've talked in Miami about one thing we have to be this year is smarter and tougher. 16 penalties, 1 interception. That jumped off of me at the graphic. 1 lost fumble. And 1 drop pass. They don't make mistakes. Chad Pennington sets the tone.
And they've only played 1 bad game, and that was the game against Arizona. They could have beaten the Jets in week 1. And obviously we always talk about you could be 3-1, you could be 4-1, you're 2-2. Whatever. They're 2-2, but they're looking like a good 2-2 football team. They just beat the Chargers.
Yeah, you know what?
And the Patriots.
I can't tell you that I'm surprised that they're competitive. I'm surprised they're competitive this quickly. I think that's the part where you say, wow. Bill Parcells, Tony Sparano, and maybe the biggest key of all, and we're going to get into the defensive prowess that they've shown, because Joey Porter is back officially. After being called a bust last year, he's back. But I think the biggest key of all, and this is something in the NFL, Clark, and you've been around it a long time, management and coaching staff being on the same page. And you say, well, shouldn't that be? It's not necessarily the norm. There's a philosophy, a shared philosophy now in Miami that maybe has not been there in the past. And I think Bill Parcells, the way he envisions this team winning and how they're going to win, Tony Sparano shares that philosophy.
And Clark, you talked about Dan Henning being boring and bland, and they're bringing all this stuff. Ian and I are both Syracuse guys. Let's put that in full disclosure. But Paul Pasqualoni, the defensive coordinator for the Miami Dolphins, has done a phenomenal job. This team was getting run over last year. They were getting thrown on last year. Yes, they had injuries. They weren't very good. Obviously, you're not when you're 1-15. They are shutting teams down offensively. They held the Chargers to 10. They're giving up 80 yards a game on the ground.
Yeah, it wasn't supposed to happen this way. Remember, they lost Jason Taylor.
Yeah.
Zach Thomas is gone. People say, what, you lost your mind? Come on, you're taking our best players away. They're
younger. They're quicker.
They're younger. They're faster. But Iron's right. They have a philosophy here. And it's taking hold. You see the same thing in Washington. Guys are buying into it. It's working here. Yeah, I give them a lot of credit, because you're right. What they just did is they knocked off New England and San Diego in succession. The AFC Championship game participants. That wasn't supposed to happen. And they go up in New England and beat them there. And teams aren't scoring on them. And it allows someone like Pennington to play the kind of game he likes. And that's running the ball effectively, making smart, safe decisions.
And Ian, real quickly, because I know you've got the game this week with Miami and Houston. When you look at this, and what are you looking for out of Miami? Obviously, Houston's down from the disappointment this week. But when you look at Miami, do you think they can come out and just pounce right on the Texans?
Well, can they sustain it? That's going to be the question, because they've built up some momentum now. Defensively, we mentioned Joey Porter. Matt Roth deserves a lot of credit, and Parcells and Sparano and Pasqualoni deserve a lot of credit for in training camp saying, you know what? You're not a defensive end. You're a linebacker. We like bigger linebackers, and you fit the bill. I sat down with him a couple of weeks ago before the New England game and asked him, had you played linebacker? He goes, no. But they wanted me to do it. Bill Parcells tells you that's how we see you. Well, guess what? I looked in the mirror, and that's how I saw myself the next day. I'm a linebacker now. The question's going to be, this Wildcat package, does it still work? Is it something they can pull out against the Houston Texans? Obviously, how do the Texans respond after the bitter defeat last week? Sage Rosenfels going airborne. A lot of pride right now for Houston, and you would presume they come out on the attack looking to gouge Miami early. They've got playmakers, and Andre Johnson is going to be a dangerous threat in this game.
I think a lot of people around the NFL feel bad for Sage Rosenfels right now, but that's for a different segment. That's for a different story because that team is also getting better week in, week out. They just don't have any wins. For Clark Judge and Ian Eagle, don't forget to watch everything else of the Endzone. We're going to talk about the game of the week, which is the Chargers and the Patriots, and the coaches that are on their way out, or at least the ones we think are on their way out. That's all here on CBSSports.com. I'm Jason Horowitz. Take care, folks.